three. Testing one, two, three. Testing one, two, three. Welcome, everyone. Welcome on the Rumble side and also on the YouTube side of things. And yeah, I'm just going to get stuff ready on my side before we begin. We are going to watch the press conference. So yeah, we're gonna go through that. We are gonna go through that. Excuse me. Um, if you can, tell a friend, let them get in here, especially the emotional ones, because the emotional ones really do need to understand that you need to look at things through the lens of um, being logical, objective, stuff like that, rather than just being completely like, oh my God, emotion, emotion, emotion. Oh my God, how could they do that? Oh my God, I believe her. We're going to look at some tweets as well, too. Um, and this is all just for like perspective wise. It's not even like, you have to believe in what I believe in. No, I've always said that you guys don't have to believe in what I believe in. But if it makes sense, then, you could definitely keep the advice. You know, if something is starting to make sense to you, that's a good thing. Like, don't try to be like, oh my God, that's such a bad thing, blah, 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 all this kind of bullshit and whatnot. Like, no. Um, if you stay within your own echo chambers, you're never going to change your environment. You're never going to change your outlook. You're never going to change like a lot of things, and I'm very, very happy that Rumble gives me the opportunity to talk to you guys as freely as I can. And I'm also double streaming on YouTube as well. So if you're over on the YouTube side of things, welcome. What's up? Don't be a stranger. Even on the Rumble side of things, don't be a stranger. I will say this though, that because we're talking about like a heavy topic like this, and I'll put on my camera in a second, but because we're talking about a heavy topic like this, YouTube is so left leaning that like they may cut my audio out depending, because they did that once before. And so come over to the green side where speech doesn't get strifled or strangled or like whatever you want to call it, or put on hold or whatever. Because sometimes you need to say what you're really thinking to get your point across. You really, really, really do. So I'll be back within like a couple minutes. I'll put the camera on and we could get started. And whatnot. I can still promote and whatnot and be like, hey, I'm live. So make sure to go tell a friend. I am very, very happy that you guys are here. So give me a couple more moments to basically get stuff ready. I just got shocked from my microphone. Oh, that's great. Uh, so, oh, I didn't realize that. Oh, I didn't realize something. Interesting. Okay, cool. What up? It's Marie Shadows here. I might have to do that again if I want to just edit this video. But I did get shocked, ladies and gentlemen. I did get shocked from my microphone. So yeah. Give me a second. Okay. Um I have a pinned message to the top just in case, because YouTube is not exactly freedom of speech. It really isn't. It's really not freedom of speech. Um, I did not want to do that. I did not want to do that at all. Um, so the world of wrestling is super chaotic right now, and I don't know when we could bring it back to a balance of like enjoying professional wrestling and enjoying the shout out to Sports Jedi Network, because they're gonna go. I think they're already live, but they just reposted me, so thanks guys, I appreciate it, man. But I guess we'll do a little talking head video until like I get the video that I need. Um but yeah, the world of wrestling has become very, very unstable for no reason. No reason at all. It has become very, very unstable. Because fans want to hijack shows, and then fans want to get mad at people who have common sense, to question things and to push back on narratives that people should not be so freely accusing other people of, or just talking about it. There's a difference between talking about something to get a dialogue going and to get new information, and the other part is if you're just going to stay within your bubble and within the talking points of what your particular party is giving you, then I don't think you really want to like expand and change. I know I'm probably getting ahead of myself because I do want to talk about different types of topics. The main topic here is being Janel Grant, because like for the past couple years, like I don't know what it I really don't know what it is. But um the past couple years, ever since she decided to do the lawsuit, um it's sort of like we could see this coming from a mile away. So we'll dissect that And for all the time that they were like, yeah, Janelle Grant this, Janelle Grant that, we were like, is she a real person? Like the one photo that they always show is like her behind a desk, or apparently now it's from a movie. Like I didn't know. But now we finally get to see who she is, and you can see right here in the thumbnail that I created that this is her, with the brown hair that's really long, the glasses, and just features that unfortunately my brain was like, I don't understand why billionaires get with the crazy chicks, especially the ones that look like they're like halfway to being Skeletor, because it's like, can you get like a hot girl that would appreciate you, and for your money, like, can you get one of those girls rather than some crazy person, But sometimes people need a little crazy in their life. Sometimes people need a little bit of adventure and excitement and whatnot. But did you have to get someone that's like super, super crazy, for no reason? For like 3 years, apparently. That's what the lawsuit said. Well, not we, I read up on the lawsuit like however long ago that was, maybe like 3 years ago, 2 years ago, I don't know. Someone tell me in chat how many years it's been that we've been talking about Janelle Grant, and certain wrestling accounts haven't really been like, giving up on it. But yeah, like we saw it coming from a mile away that like this doesn't make any sense. We're pushing back. There's no credibility here. I could tell you that there's no credibility, and that's not me trying to be like anti-woman or anything. And I go against my own fucking gender. I complain about my gender because women do stupid shit. Women say stupid shit, and women mess it up for everybody else. We're seeing like a huge ass decline in I guess I don't want to say mental illness just yet, but just mentality wise, when it comes to women, that we are more emotional, and for some reason, nobody knows how to really like control that. You can't control it like 100% because of our hormones and everything that goes up and down. But again, that's really not like a huge 100% excuse to be doing dumb shit, to be, not looking after your family and whatnot, and doing what the media tells you to do, how the media wants you to think, and how in fear that you want the media to be so far into your lives that like you don't know really what to do, like you're scrambling for it. But sometimes some women get so peaceful in the stuff that they want that they don't realize how much it's a danger and how much it's hurting people or even to themselves. But with Janelle Grant, um, her lawsuit was like super long. And the most memorable things about her lawsuit was that because everybody references it, and I think that when people start referencing the really shocking things, it becomes a meme after a while, so to speak. It becomes a meme. The whole thing about Vince. Um, the whole thing about Vince pooping on her head, and people on Twitter taking that as evidence when there is no picture, there is no video. If someone was as kinky as Vince is when it is described in this whole entire lawsuit, if someone was really that kinky, they would have videos, they would have photos, they would have like the nines of everything to record everything, because they will be narcissistic. They will be like, this is the power that I have over somebody. But nothing to that extent was shown in this lawsuit. During the time of having this lawsuit, and then up until now of the press conference, Janelle Grant herself kept changing the lawsuit, kept adding this, kept taking this out, kept putting this in as evidence. No other report has ever said that Vince McMahon and his lawyer team are doing the same thing. So it's just like one side. So how can Janelle Grant be that credible? How can you be that credible if you need to constantly either remove evidence or add evidence and nothing else. Like, to name drop Brock Lesnar to ruin his career when nothing really happens, and she says nothing really happens. But she does say a story about, you know, texting pictures and, peeing this, and Brock Lesnar can have her and whatnot. And Brock is all like, no, or even dropping John Laurinaitis' name, and then also still keeping like two other people as like person one, person two kind of deal. And it's just nothing in it makes sense. Someone, like I said, someone who is really, really into having power over somebody, like true power, regardless of the NDA, right? We'll get to the NDA in a second, but like, regardless of like an NDA, anybody who wants to do some heinous shit, like shitting on your head, they will probably record it. In history, I guess, in internet history, we have the video called Two Girls, One Cup. Don't look it up. But it would be something like that if Vince was truly like this kinky. Like, somebody would have recorded it, somebody would have took pictures, somebody would have been like, oh my god, this is so like amazing, or like they're in shock and they have to like keep it for old time's sake or whatnot. So like, Vince would have truly have to be that egomaniac person if we're going to believe the victim of Janel Grant. Also, within that whole entire lawsuit, she even says that she was given money, she was given gifts, like a new BMW, any kind of gift that she wanted that she would get. If she wanted a boob job, I think she also got like a boob job as well. She got gifts in exchange for horrible acts, depending on what it says in the fine print. But if you're going to get gifts in exchange for this, and you signed off on it, and you knew ahead of time this is what it's going to entail, then you're not really the victim. A victim would have gone to the police right after getting shitted on, because if you don't know, shit carries bacteria. And that causes either diseases or infections. That's why, they're like, hey, don't mess with shit. If you have shit on your hands, make sure you like wash your hands afterwards. Is my camera fucked up? My camera's not fucked up. It's just the video right now. But that's why they're like, hey, make sure to wash your hands after you do something. So that way there's no cross contamination. There's no, nothing going on. But if you're not going straight to the police after that, or go to the emergency room after that, did it really happen? Because, it's not like they threw her into a cell right after that happened. Apparently it happened in the offices before WWE decided to move offices. In a way, I think that's how it goes. But in one of the offices, like that's where it happened. And you're telling me there's no cameras in the office? Like, no cameras above, just to make sure that everything goes well. When you build a building and you have offices, you'll have cameras in there to make sure that, like, nothing bad happens or whatnot. Like, that's standard. Even if, like, Connecticut, well, it's not if, even though Connecticut is a blue state, and blue states like to protect criminals nowadays, but they still like by law to have cameras and whatnot and record everything. So you're telling me that I don't know why the judge didn't like try to get the footage. Now, whether or not that room had cameras, there's always somebody taking pictures, there's always somebody recording, there's always something, there's always a video trail, a paper trail, and whatnot. Like, just because Vince had his office doesn't mean that, there's no cameras in there to record something or anything like that of the sort. But other than that, yeah, so it's like, why would you put some stuff in there into the lawsuit and think that like you're a victim? So yeah, she got paid for stuff. She signs the NDA. Now, to me, NDAs, depending on what it is, if you're going to be using an NDA to try to get out of, something that is sexual, and you are a reoccurring sex pest with other type of employees in a particular company or corporate just to put like superiority over people, then no, don't do that. Because that's horrible. That's how you get away with it. However, I will say this, that if anybody in the world wants change within the corporate landscape, you're gonna have to vote for better people to represent you in like the council of your state. And also good protesting. This is the only time where I'll be like, yo, go out and protest. But good protesting to where you can protest the corporations and go to like the board meetings if you can, respectfully, to be like, look, this shit should not be going on. Nobody should try to be taking advantage of someone just because they got a power trip out of it and it like gets them off. But I need you to sign an NDA. You go straight to the source to change those laws. You go straight to the source to change those loopholes. Every single company has a loophole. Every single state has a loophole. Every single thing that we have created within this world has a loophole. But everybody wants to get on social media and cry about the man is bad. And when I say the man, I mean like any man that you know. They want to get on social media to cry that the man is bad. Women shouldn't be going through this. Women this, women that. Men are evil. Well, if you guys stop fucking virtue signaling and actually go straight to the damn source and talk to people and create a good, I was gonna say podcast, a good protest that's not paid for, then you have a legitimate, way of thinking. You have like a legitimate way to go to get change for the environments that you don't like, rather than trying to have politicians do it for you. When you have politicians do it for you, and when you have other people that have bigger resources than you do it for you, we get paid protesting that doesn't make any sense. We get, traffic jams all the time because they want to be like narcissistic. Like, it loses the actual true intent of wanting to change the world, of wanting to change corporate, of wanting to actually put bad people in prison for what they did so they could realize you don't take advantage of people like this. However, in this situation between Janel Grant and Vince McMahon, Vince is obviously the billionaire, so he could have whoever he wants, and I guess he just wanted a side chick for it. She's mad fucking crazy. But he just signed an NDA to be like, listen, this is what we're going to agree to. I'll give you all the money you want, and then that's it. And she signed it. And if he broke it down for her, like how a job will break down your job description, if he broke it down for her that way, then basically like she knew what she was getting into. She knew what she was going to be doing. There might be like some surprises, but for a fact that like some type of sexual activity is going to be involved in this. And if you just want to stop at, if you just want to stop at, oh my God, he used her. He didn't use anything. He didn't use her. She knew what was happening. And, someone, I know I'm probably going to jump ahead, but someone cannot be trafficked if they themselves are driving from point A to point B to do whatever they need to do that day and whatever is discussed. And a person that is trafficked will not be able to go to the doctor to get whatever cosmetic surgeries or, drive around in a BMW or accept like money. Like, that shit doesn't happen. Do you know that not too long ago that Tom Homan, the biggest guy that you know is head of the ICE, basically mentioned a story how a 14-year-old girl was trafficked by two males and she got pregnant, and I ended up putting that video underneath the tweets of the men and women in the IWC who give Marty Scurll so much shit. That is true trafficking. That is true horrible shit. But no, people in the IWC just wants to be outraged and selective outrage rather than trying to be like, oh, this person was accepting gifts. That disqualifies them because they're not really a true victim. Versus a 14-year-old girl who got her innocence stolen and basically her life, even though she can recover, but it's going to be a long traumatic cover. But nobody in the IWC seems to care about it. The IWC seems to care about what is the hottest topic of the day, how can they be upset, how can they just go around blatantly lying to other people about the situation, and basically, how can I say this, saying what they want to say without the substance, because they think that other people are as dumb and want to be as enraged as them, And I shouldn't be like trying to compare all these incidents, and I'm not comparing all these incidents, but it's just the fact that the IWC gets so fucking illiterate and stupid, okay, and so left-leaning that when you're trying to tell them that this is way horrible than this because of these exact reasons, they don't want to listen. They want to be emotional. But you, as the person who's telling them this and have the common sense, do not fall for their fucking games, because it's fucking stupid. It really is. It's like trying to tell them that a 14-year-old girl who was trafficked against her will, who was taken from her family, is now pregnant. I don't know about the two males, but Tom Homan himself said that, they found two men that had trafficked the 14-year-old girl. The 14-year-old girl is pregnant now. And then you have people in the IWC that totally did not say anything about it. There's no anger about it. And they always say F ICE, F ICE, F ICE, which is kind of wrong. ICE protects people like this. Well, protects us, not them. ICE doesn't protect them like that. ICE protects us and other people to not let that happen. They go and get the bad guys, right? So we should be cheering on ICE for that. We shouldn't be saying F ICE this, F ICE that, just because two American people died by the hands of their states. It's their state's government that made them that radical. It's not the Trump administration. It's not anything else. And I hate that all of this is so fucking political when all I just wanted to just talk about wrestling. But sometimes you have to try to not really reason, because no one really wants to reason, but sometimes you have to speak on it so that way people can understand the perspective and maybe change their minds. That's the only reason why I'm speaking on this, so that way people can listen, change their minds, and if they want to push back, it better not be emotional. That's all I say, that it better not be emotional. So, to recap, because I know I'm probably getting ahead of myself, and I said we're going to watch the thing and whatnot, but there's a difference between being brave, right, and getting justice. There is no difference between being brave and getting justice. It's the same thing. In order to get justice, you need to be brave. But people in the IWC were like, "Oh my God, Janel Grant is so brave for speaking out on her trauma and like what happened to her and whatnot." And it's like, again, you take gifts, you take money, you take the car, you can get whatever you want, but the moment that the money stops coming in, it's like, oh, let me go do a lawsuit, and the lawsuit is ridiculous. But yeah, to wrap up this little segment is that the IWC will pick and choose what they want to be, what they want to celebrate, and they celebrate all the wrong things, and they yell at all of the things that really don't is really not that big. They will yell at Marty for no reason when they don't know the story. They will praise Janel Grant for speaking out on stuff that she wanted and she stopped getting. And now here we are with no resolution. No resolution. And then the IWC, as much as they say F ICE, will not even look at the video of Tom Homan saying that two guys trafficked a 14-year-old girl and that 14-year-old girl is now pregnant. And again, it's just to put into perspective that the internet is such a think group of a bubble that if you're not saying all of the right talking points, you are public enemy number one, and people leave you because they don't want their bubble to get shattered. And I think that's why I enjoy Rumble a lot more. I always knew that the wrestling community was, in their bubble and whatnot, but then it got to a point once Brody King came onto the scene like in full force and basically had everyone chanting F ICE when it's like that's not that's not what we're supposed to be doing. ICE captures those trafficker guys that had the 14-year-old girl impregnated. ICE basically goes and finds all of the children to the best of their ability that ends up getting lost. They found what, like 3,000 to 5,000 kids in Minnesota, and then they found like 300,000 plus when Biden was in office, and they found those children. But no, the IWC is F ICE, F ICE. It doesn't make any sense. But yeah, and I understand that if people don't want to hear me talk about this, or I might be repeating myself, which I am, but if nothing is going to change and you're still going to be idiots online, then, with like new stuff, you're just going to get more new information on it. But we should probably watch the Janel Grant stuff. Also with the lawsuit, there was also a section in the lawsuit that apparently Vince McMahon had like so many dildos and he named them all. And he sends a picture to like, I don't know, did he send a picture to Brock Lesnar? Listen, it's been some years of like going through this whole lawsuit fucking bullshit. By the way, a straight man who's like an alpha male that is Vince McMahon would not have a collection of dildos and name it all. A girl would do that. A girl would name her dildos. And even like an extremely flamboyant gay man will probably name some dildos too. But a straight man like Vince McMahon will not be naming dildos. And he had what, like 10 dildos. Like, what? That's the fantasy of a woman to do that. That's a fantasy of a woman to do that. Nothing else. All right, let me go to the video. Um we are going to have to give somebody else like the view, which is totally fine. I have no idea who this is, but and you notice that during her speech that she she only has women there, not too it's not really diverse or anything like that. Um it's not really diverse. But, if you're going to be writing the uh the lawsuit, at least make it believable. Also, victims would tend to go to the hospital to get like more evidence done and like, submit more evidence. But apparently if you don't really do that, then I don't know. Um let me do this. And yes, I am using Meld Studios. Let's put it over the thing. Oh, great. Um, if anyone has any questions or anything like that, any pushback, because for some reason people are tougher on Twitter than they are anywhere else. And I understand that it's tough to talk about these things because you want to believe a certain narrative that the internet gives you, and you want to believe so badly that everybody is a victim, that nobody could do anything, and that they need your help and whatnot. And it's to an extent, uh, you can definitely say that some people need help on. Well, you can go and help people, but you can't make it seem like you want to be the savior all the time to people, because that is why you get the backlash. If you don't understand why you get the backlash, it's because of, you want to be everyone's savior. No matter if like the person's right or wrong, you want to jump in and you want to say something, and you just say it. And then when people push back to be like, hey, that's not true. Look at this fact. Look at this here. This is a statistic. This is that. Here's the pattern. Follow the pattern. And this is why she's wrong. You guys are all like, no, that's not true. Blah, blah, blah. Um, Hello? Oh, uh, let me just see.
And now,
Oh, okay, okay. I don't know why it turns red. That's like the most weirdest thing. I don't know why it turns red. Uh,
welcome up Janel Grant.
I was writing this on the way in the car.
oh my God.
Wow, I'm a little taken aback. I really shouldn't be here.
To start off with, I really shouldn't be here, says a lot, because this is where she gets into being an actress. And it's like, why are you trying to be an actress? Why?
By a series of miracles that I can't account for, I'm alive today. Whew. On June 15th of 2022, my life was rewritten into someone else's storyline. And I was globally outed in the Wall Street Journal. I got a call that I didn't expect on the day of a very big meeting of a new job I had. And it was in front of my new bosses, and it was in front of a high-rise full of residents whose homes I was entrusted to protect. So imagine me getting a phone call I didn't expect.
Hold on. Because I also remember too in the lawsuit that I think that she added, that she lived in a place just like how she described, right? Where obviously there's multiple families and whatnot, and like somebody lived above her, or that she wanted Vince to live above her so that they could continue to stay in. So girl, the whole timeline stuff is off. Like, why? I don't know. That sounded kind of sus, as if like, I remember in the lawsuit it says something like that. That like, the boyfriend, her boyfriend at the time, not talking about Vince, was like in the high rise with her, where like all the multiple other people lived in the apartments. What? So after all of that, she ended up getting a new job that had residents. So that sounds like real estate. Okay, let's just keep going, because man, I really don't know why it does this.
Suspect saying that at any minute the Wall Street Journal would be publishing a story about me, Vince McMahon, and a non-disclosure agreement. I was told, if anybody asks me about this, I can't make a comment, I can't acknowledge it, I can't say I'm not okay, and if anybody approaches me, I can't acknowledge years of life to people who saw me live it. And
who are these people? Where are they? Wouldn't these people be behind her right now to be like, we're here for you, we're cheering you on? Where are they? The people that are behind her are her legal team, legal counsel, probably somebody from like the state of Connecticut. But who are these people that saw this? Like, you would think that more people will be coming out on social media, whether they have like Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and say video or like record videos of them saying that, yeah, Janel Grant is right, this happened, we have this evidence. Or her friends that apparently saw this would have gave it to her as evidence, so that way the evidence could go into the case and make the case a little bit stronger, so that way she doesn't really have to amend and like just put in some random shit. So who are the other people that saw her, that saw all this happening in front of them? And if they did see them happening, if they did see this happening, right, as it unfolded, what friend is not going to go to the cops to try to ask for some advice or be like, hey, I think my friend is in danger? Your friends, and people that saw this happen will not go to law enforcement to be like, hey, can you do a wellness check on my friend? She lives here. I don't think that she's been well for the past couple of weeks. I don't know what's going on, but can you do a wellness check? None of that is reported. None of that is in the lawsuit at all. So again, what friends is she talking about? Who else saw this other than like the parties involved in the lawsuit? If anybody out there in the IWC, whether you're on YouTube or Rumble or on Twitter, if you want, like, let me know. Let me know where these people are, because a actual good hearted, decent human being would definitely have told the police something to do a wellness check if they were really her friends. Her friends would never know about an NDA. Her friends would not get in trouble. And Vince McMahon is not the big bad wolf that people make it seem like he is on the internet, especially on Twitter, where they're like, oh, they could have threatened her family and blah, 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 and threatened her friends. Vince is probably not going to care about who your friends are if you're getting into an NDA with him. He's probably not going to give two shits. The NDA is between you and him and whatever the fuck you guys decide on, but, your friends can 100% with safety end up going to the cops and being like, hey, can you guys do a wellness check on my friend, because I think something is up. She hasn't been the same. I don't know what it is. She's not talking to me, but I really, really, really care about her. Can you go do a wellness check? Why was that not the case? Or why didn't nobody think about that?
it was like somebody set fire to my home intentionally with me still inside of it.
Oh
So
my God. You are such a bad actress.
I blacked out and I ended up
No, you didn't.
a closet with a belt and a stool placed under a metal rod.
What?
And thank God somebody saw me and stopped it.
What? What? Okay.
But that is the life wreck and the mental health impact of this particular NDA. Oh my God, I wrote, "Stick with me, I'm going somewhere with this."
Okay, first of all, if you need to write down "stick with me, I'm going somewhere with this," then yeah, it's all yeah. It's all fake. Because you wouldn't need to write something down to explain your story and explain how horrible an NDA can actually be. You don't need to write down how horrible a sexual assault can actually be because you're constantly like living through it, right? If you haven't went to therapy to try to at least forgive yourself, forgive the other person, move on just a tiny bit just for healing and, maybe find God, find Jesus, find something so that way you can forgive yourself. Nobody would need to write down little tiny notes and nobody would need to write down something because you're speaking from the heart and you're speaking from experience, which can be unfortunate. You really don't need to do that. That's all, man. This is all a really bad act. And if people out there think that I'm very insensitive to this, like I said, I follow patterns. I follow what I see, what I hear, and how people move. So someone telling me something, I'm not just going to take it at face value. And I'm not just going to take the fake crying as like, oh my God, this is evidence. Because when you really stop and break it down and really ask questions, like I had to ask earlier about like, if Vince McMahon was as kinky as she describes in the lawsuit to make it as super degrading and super nasty and super horrible, if he was truly this kind of man, how come there is no extra patterns with it? You would think that for all the years Vince had WWE, that all the other people will also come out too and also say, yeah, this happened, this happened, this happened. But she's the only one that has a very thick lawsuit described with horrible acts and make it seem as if like he's like super kinky, when I'm like, this is fan fiction that a girl will write when she lives out her fantasies. Now I understand that people may not like how I put it in that kind of perspective, but you gotta look at everything from all sides of this like story. Like I said earlier, if somebody really wanted to be as horrible as she described Vince McMahon, there will be photos, there will be videos, there will be voice recordings, rather than text messages that can be photoshopped, text messages that could be faked. The IWC, the Internet Wrestling Community, is very, very famous for creating fake messages. And that probably goes for every other fandom too. And that probably goes for like a lot of things too. That people are very famous for creating fake messages. And then later, when you find out that these messages are fake, there's no apologies. There's no like, oh my God, that's bad. People go about their lives. So in this lawsuit, there is just text messages upon text messages that sound kind of off. Sound off to where a man won't say certain phrases, won't say certain sentences, won't say certain words. Women, on the other hand, will say those words. So this is why, like, I don't believe her at all, and she's not credible. Again, if people are true victims, they will go through everything. They will get justice. They will tell the judge, hey, I really want to take this to court. I really want justice. I don't care about the money. We'll think about the money a little bit later, but I need justice because this was done unfairly to me. they wouldn't make it into a spectacle. We wouldn't have gotten so far into this lawsuit, which is one-sided, and on February 19th have a press conference to finally see who she is, and then you're realizing, man, it was all just, just to get money. Like, nobody would be accepting gifts if they had to take a poop on, they had to allow someone to take a poop on their head. Like, come on, that cannot outweigh, like, oh my God, I'm gonna get money, I'm gonna get a gift, so yes, you could poop on me. You could poop on me. Like, what? No. A self-respecting woman would be like, I don't want to enter into this. We could be friends with benefits, and that's it. A mature woman would be like, yeah, we could be friends with benefits, Vince. I don't need to sign an NDA, but Vince has a really big, huge name. That's not really like a boogeyman kind of name, but to protect him and protect everybody. Businessmen, like, once they understand the game, it's just second nature to them. But man, is she like a really bad actress.
Okay. So why am I here today? The people and organizations that have supported me when I was the loneliest person on planet Earth, when my life got decimated in the Wall Street Journal, with them I would not be here. And one of those people is Beth Hamilton. I read something she wrote and it helped me. And around the holidays, Thanksgiving, I reached out to thank her. And so the act of just saying thank you, like a human to human moment, a phone call, when that leads to this moment, me being here, it feels like something in history is about to play out differently. It feels like the world may be signaling it's ready to change, like when somebody shows up to talk about NDAs.
Like, oh my God, when someone's about to show up for NDAs and talk about NDAs, he. Fucking fake. Oh my God, fucking fake. Are you fucking serious right now? Like, how does a single phone call end up being like, oh my God, let's talk about NDAs, from a chick that didn't really like save you? Like, what are we doing? What are we doing, dude? Like, that nervous laugh just tells you everything. Again, a real victim wouldn't want to do a press conference. A real victim would have gotten this lawsuit to trial, whether it's a grand jury or, a civil jury or not. Like, they would have gotten this to court to be decided within a jury within the first year of this dropping. But it's been what, 2.5 years of just constant, she's changing stuff in the lawsuit, she's dropping names, she's adding this, she's taking this out, and Vince is not really doing anything except for like, oh, is this gonna happen, guys? What time is this gonna happen?
Workplace safety depends on transparency, because when employees cannot speak, patterns can't be seen. When patterns can't be seen, they can't be stopped. When they can't be stopped, harm spreads. When an NDA is used to conceal dangerous behavior, it simply relocates the harm to the next employee, the next office, the next victim. No one should be required to trade silence for accountability, and no workplace should be able to become safer for an institution than the people inside of it. So for years, I have watched my life play out outside of a window, and I am serious when I tell you I went outside 10 times last year.
No, she's not serious. No, she's not.
What happened?
Hold on. Did I accidentally skip ahead?
Spokesperson in the Wall Street Journal.
Yeah, I accidentally skipped ahead. But I could tell you that she's not serious about that. She's not serious about that. No. Not at all. Not at all. Again, a true victim will not be nervous laughing right now. A true victim wouldn't play up the white girl stereotype thing of like, oh my God, guys, like I couldn't go out, outside for like 10 days. I swear, it's a really bad performative act. And again, it's me
This one
calling
broke my family.
bullshit.
Living and working
Hold
with
on.
me, 6 people.
Are we watching a different thing? Like, how far did we
10
get
times
into it?
last year. That
That's
is
a
the
lie.
level of threat. That is the level of feeling unsafe. That is the level of power that I am on the other side of.
What?
With this NDA, I promise you, I have seen some of the worst in humanity, and I have seen some of the best colors ever in people.
Who phrases that like that? Who says that phrase? No one speaks like that. No one says, with this NDA, I promise you I have seen what is it? Hold on.
And that, with this NDA, I promise you, I have seen some of the worst in humanity, and I have seen some of the best.
Now, I'll give her that, like, yes, we do end up seeing the worst in humanity. We really, really do. But we really don't say we see the best colors ever in people. Like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? And like I said, there's no other evidence that strongly supports like the majority of this shit happening other than like text messages of like the dildo stuff and naming the dildos or wanting her to be with other people, or you know, her saying in the lawsuit that she drove from point A to point B, meaning her house to the office, or drove here or drove there. And it's like, you wouldn't be allowed to even go outside, let alone drive by yourself. This is why it doesn't add up between what's in the lawsuit and what she's saying here.
Best colors ever in people. And that is also why I'm here. I might be leaving here the same way I arrived, which is deeply struggling, financially devastated, no family, isolated. But right now I am in a dress and I am smiling and I am standing in front of you good people who are willing to take a few minutes of your life and listen. And I thank you, because I'm about.
No victim will be talking about what they're wearing right now. This has nothing to do with anything like that. It just reminds me of like when people go up to you to shake your hand and they're like, and they start listing off all of the labels that they are before they get to their name, and they want you to address them by their pronouns and shit like that. This is what's coming off the video. And her, you know, I'm here, you know, in a dress. Well, first of all, thank you for being dressed. And yeah, it's just like, this is such a bad acting. It's a good thing I didn't like listen to this yesterday on Twitter. I would have been like, what the fuck am I listening to? There's nothing substantial here. There's nothing about raising awareness. It's all talking about her and this, and being very vague, and but trying to let you guys know that she's struggling. She's currently isolated because nobody would want to get involved in this. See, this is where like she contradicts that. She said that people that know her, like her friends, saw all this happening, but she's isolated. Her family doesn't want to talk to her, but according to her, people that she knows saw what happened and saw things unfold, but she's isolated. You can't make this shit up, man.
To take you on a little bit of a ride here. Okay, I mentioned coercive control in my statement originally. I want to offer that as something to help you immediately. It's a tool that somebody gave me, 6 words, coercive control. It happens in increments. It changed my life. It empowered me. Suddenly I had words, incomprehensible moments and relationships. It made sense. Why questions suddenly were not like, they didn't sting. They were just something I wasn't about to answer because I understood person-to-person relationships, person to workplace, and person to world. Seriously, turn on CNN and just use a coercive control tactic and, point it out. So.
What?
With this one NDA, as I said, there are a lot of people living and working in fear here in Connecticut. This one broke the hamster wheel.
Oh my God.
Whatever you do going forward, the decisions that you make, let this be your number one cautionary tale of what you do not want under an NDA. There are, just as an example, 5, we'll call them intersections, lanes of traffic associated with this NDA. You have a federal criminal investigation by the DOJ. You have an SEC investigation with criminal penalties. You have a shareholder derivative suit with a trial scheduled for June. You have a Second Circuit decision about the crime fraud exception that resulted in a loss of attorney-client privilege, and my civil suit. My God, that's one big pileup. So this NDA was a tool that Vince could use to justify anything while I remained in a system of exploitation and actually in a position for anyone to exploit me. So in June 2022, actions and reactions told us a lot about who people are, what an environment is like, and whether we are safe. The company reached out and requested that I make a joint statement that this was a consensual relationship and that they wanted to know this to the extent that I needed or wanted something, aka more money on the table. I refused. And then in the second Wall Street Journal story in July, the company spokesperson said it for me, that it was consensual. So someone, a group maybe, behind my back, without my knowledge, without my input, made that decision for me. It's consensual, we say so, and surprised that decision on me via the company spokesperson in the Wall Street Journal. So
I'm going to stop there. Why are you not suing the writer of the Wall Street Journal then? If she felt so strongly about somebody went behind her back to talk for her and make a decision on her behalf when she, according to her in this press conference, said that, she didn't answer, she rejected it, she wasn't going to say anything. Why are you not also suing the Wall Street Journal and the writer who did it? Why are you not saying, hey, that is defamatory? I said I didn't give an answer, but they wanted to answer for me on my behalf. Where is the lawsuit for that person? Guess what? There is no lawsuit against the Wall Street Journal. So she can stand up there and say that, someone did it wrongfully on her behalf. Yes, I agree. If the Wall Street Journal did that on, to say that it was consensual while she said no, you shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't be writing an article about it. However, if she feels so strongly that she was mischaracterized because of that article of the Wall Street Journal where they followed it up in July, where is the lawsuit for the Wall Street Journal? Also, she's talking like super fast as if like she understands words. She really doesn't understand words like that. Businesses have always used NDAs, whether it is logical, ethical, whatever it is. It depends on the situation. Not every single NDA is the same. And if you are signing an NDA, understand the fine print, understand what you're getting into and why an NDA is needed. If you feel like the red flags within your body, within your soul is telling you, hey, let's not do this, do not sign an NDA. You can go look for another job. You could go do something else. You could go do whatever else that you want to do. If you feel uncomfortable signing that NDA because you're realizing there's a lot of red flags, don't do it, But yeah, it is that she wants money on the table because in the lawsuit, you know, it also mentions that she sent love letters. It also mentioned that, you know, she accepted all these gifts. She did all this. She drove from point A to point B. So I really do feel like I'm repeating myself, and this was just a waste of time for her to do this, because it's like in the lawsuit itself, it says that after the money stopped coming, after the gifts stopped coming, now you want to seek justice when there, you know, I don't want to say there is no justice, but you know, it is money. It is money because again, somebody would understand that if something stops, it's because the other person wants it to stop. And according to my memory, Vince stopped it. Vince was like, "Oh yeah, we're not doing this anymore." So now she wants the money. It is the money. It's the extra stuff that she didn't get paid for or whatnot, but she wants to put it under the skies of, look at me, I'm a victim. Victims like this, victims that put in the lawsuit very horrible things, will not speak out like this in a press conference. They again will take it straight to court, so that way it could be resolved in a court of law.
Leaving out one half of an experiencing party on a decision like that is not consent. The company publicly announced an investigation, and I was given permission to participate in it. That was not going to be considered a breach. They perceived that I somehow already breached. I mean, that would have been the moment to tell me. Here's the part that I've been really waiting to say. That summer, I spent 6 figures to participate in this thing, their investigation on new.
Do you see how she mentions the 6 figures? And 6 figures translates to money. Do you see how all she wants is the resolution of money in this whole entire thing? She doesn't care. She's not a victim. She's not. Because any victim would not be like, you know, I participated and I used 6 figures when I participated in this investigation. A victim does not care about how much money. A victim will go broke and be in debt in order for justice to be prevailed, so that way everyone else can get the message of like, don't fucking do this shit because it is wrong. But you see how she says, I had to spend money. I had to spend 6 figures in order to participate in this in order to participate in this investigation with the company.
New legal retainers and on medical care that saved my life. I preserved my evidence. I believed that somehow I would be interviewed for this investigation and get my life back and figured out what happened. Then the feds reached out ahead of speaking with me. I was onboarding a brand new legal team. So while our hair was on fire and getting everyone onboarded, we gave them my evidence and said, review this in advance. Based on that objective review of hard evidence, communications with people across the company, and that includes leadership then and now, the feds informed us that this was now a covert investigation into human trafficking and the criminal misconduct of WWE, Vince McMahon, and this NDA. These are matters of both public safety and public interest. And if you want to know why this case, my federal civil lawsuit, is not an employment law case, that is because the feds requested that I say nothing, that this be covert, that they could do the work that they needed to do to investigate human trafficking and criminal misconduct. So, while I was preparing to participate with the DOJ and the SEC in the company's independent investigation, the company's was closed without speaking to me, and I couldn't share that with anybody. I'm under an NDA. So I'm just going to speed skate like the Olympics through 2023, because I promise you, this keeps building up. There are people living and working in.
So she's trying to do what every other left-leaning person does when they really want something. They will pick and choose what's important to listen when, you know, everything should be important for this. But this is just it's supposed to be raising awareness about the NDAs and whatnot. But I gave like a perfect example earlier that if you really want to change the whole corporate structure and change the NDAs and whatnot, you have to go straight to the source. Without any kind of agenda, without being like, oh my God, I spent money. Are you going to pay me back? If not, here's a lawsuit kind of deal. But you go straight to the source with your politicians, with Congress people, with corporations, and if you're allowed to speak on any kind of open public hearing, so that way you can start doing stuff, doing protesting that doesn't require to be paid. That's how you start changing your environment and changing all this kind of stuff. To speedway all the way through this, it's like, oh, you just want people to just take whatever cliff notes that you're giving us for this thing, man.
You're here in Connecticut, and there is a headquarters in Stamford, Connecticut right now that is full of intimidated people that I care very much about.
Oh my God.
3 years and 5 law firms cannot get answers about who, what, when, where, or why I breached. If anybody perceived it, they haven't shared it, and I felt like I was being punished for even working with the feds. In March of 2023, I got 2 things from the SEC. I got a subpoena, and I got whistleblower status. 3 days late, well, a couple days after that, forgive me, Vince McMahon and Ari Emanuel suddenly appeared on CNBC to announce a deal of Endeavor and WWE, so colored me the most surprised person on planet Earth. Then the FBI started to send me communications that I'd been identified as a potential victim. I got those letters for 2.5 years. Then in July, because it can't get better, a search warrant and a grand jury subpoena with my name in it and words like trafficking were served. Then, bigger, 2 more grand jury subpoenas were served on Jerry McDevitt and K&L Gates. Based on a ruling, it appears my name is in those subpoenas too. So then in September of 2023, the company paid for my participation in the federal investigation. I was out 6 figures. This was a lot more.
Again with the money. Again with the money. The reason why she's being subpoenaed is because she made the lawsuit. She made the lawsuit. She's the one that was like, yeah, let's put this forward. Let's get all this evidence in there. Of course, they have to subpoena you to be like, hey, come in for more questioning. Hey, come in for this, come in for that. But it was also reported that she started to change up her lawsuit. You know, take out this evidence, put this evidence in, name drop Brock Lesnar, name drop this, name drop that. Like, girl. I don't know why this is like this.
So if anyone postures like this isn't serious, they spent some serious money on it. So
Money. She's not a victim. Money. Victims do not mention money. This is the 3rd time that she mentions money. The 3rd time she mentions money. I know people over on the YouTube side of things is not really going to be happy with what I'm saying, but money, again, money. She's like, oh, if you guys don't take this seriously, maybe if I mention the money, you guys will take it seriously. A victim would not want money. A victim, if they have a chance to win the case, they will try to get the case to go to court, especially within that first year, right after all the investigations and right after you talk to the feds and be like, hey, when is there a timeline to take this to court? I don't like this. You know, I want to see justice prevail. But 3 times within this press conference, that says nothing. Money. She mentions how she had to pay out of pocket for the 6 figures. She mentioned that she had to get a whole new lawyer team. She mentions that she had to do this with that and the money, and then also mentioned how maybe the 3rd time around or 2nd time around that the company decided to pay for that stuff out of the goodness of their heart. She's like, oh yeah, they paid for me that time. But then again, guys, if you don't believe me, believe the money. What? I thought you wanted justice for this, so that way other people do not go through an NDA. If you wanted justice for this, you don't need to be talking about money in your press conference.
I don't know how many more red flags you need, but going into 2024, when I filed my federal civil lawsuit at the last conceivable second, because I really didn't want to do this, I knew what I would be about to.
Lies. You want attention. Lies. You didn't have to. You didn't do it for the past like 3 years of this. But now all of a sudden, you're going to be like, oh my God, guys, I'm going to do a press conference while Vince is all here like, when do we get to the trial? Oh, we haven't gotten to the trial yet? I'm just going to go live my life, girl. Like, you want attention. You keep mentioning money.
To throw my life into, but I've been dragged in by this NDA into a federal investigation.
Hey yo, Bubba Matt, what's up? Welcome to the live stream, buddy. Welcome to the live stream over on YouTube. But yeah, welcome in. She has been like changing up her story the whole entire time, man. Well, you know what? Not changing up her story, embellishing her story so that way people could feel sad for her. And it's like, no. No.
The SEC, all the consequences, all the things that have happened that have made my life so small and isolated, I didn't start that. It's like it found me. I put myself in the shoes of everyone I knew, everyone I worked with, anyone who lost a job, has been intimidated, who was told something.
She wants to be the martyr so bad. Crazy chicks want to be the martyr so bad. I had a feeling this whole thing fell off. Yeah, completely fell off, man. Completely felt off. Felt off, just in case if people can't hear the words. But man, she wants to be a martyr so bad. She wants to be that crazy liberal that has your back, guys. Because she's like, man, I can't think about, like, I have to think about everybody else and whatnot. And you know, I'll share something small that, like, I was the same way too, that I would stand up for other people in workplaces that didn't have a voice or whatnot, but like, you know, that really didn't work out, but I would still do it because, you know, what's right is right, what's wrong is wrong. But in this situation, to think about everyone else, like, Vince, I got to think about this timeline, because after that whole shit dropped, right? Obviously he was done with it. How come no other woman has ever come forward within that amount of time of Vince being let go to this happening? How come no other woman or male has ever come out with a lawsuit like Janel Grant here? If, like, she's thinking about everybody else, you would think that this would inspire other people to be like, okay, I need to go the right way, which is to do a lawsuit because you got violated for whatever reason. But she's the only one that dropped this like really huge lawsuit of like her, again, accepting gifts, driving from point A to point B to do whatever she needed to do that day. And again, if Vince McMahon is this monster, like the lawsuit says he is, he would have her under constant supervision. She would have a chauffeur. She would, you know, be locked away in a way. She would not have a life. She wouldn't be telling anybody any of this until like they come rescue her, or like a cop did like a wellness check on her. But like someone who is narcissistic, that has been characterized as such in the lawsuit, would not allow her to do most of the shit that she wanted to do.
Got no answers. I put my name and my face on it. And by the way, my face, that's my work photo, because that's the audience I needed to reach, to tell them whatever you may have been told before, here I am. So, I could not have lived this truth bigger with that swan dive into the world.
Oh my God.
2024, actions and reactions continue to tell us who people are, what environment is like, and whether it's
Did she say in 2024? What? We're in 2026. How did you go back in time?
Safe. Sorry. I encourage you to ask yourself, how should a reasonable person and a reasonable organization respond to my filing when it mirrors a federal and criminal investigation?
That's because you put specific words in there, so those words basically trigger federal people to be like, oh my God, like we can't let this happen. Like, the United States of America takes trafficking very seriously. It does. You might not believe it does because you want to be F ICE, F ICE, F ICE, ICE killed 2 American people that became martyrs for no fucking reason because they got radicalized by their own government. But if you put in specific words into your lawsuit, of course it's going to turn federal because people within the federal government is going to take that seriously because you're telling them something serious. We have throughout history several videos, accounts, testimonies of people who have been trafficked. I guess she missed the Tom Homan speech of the 14-year-old girl that got pregnant and trafficked by 2 guys. But, she's like, this mirrors a criminal investigation, guys. I don't know why, and a man is supposed to be reasonable. Vince was probably reasonable. All the rest of the stuff in your lawsuit sounds like fan fiction. Again, you guys might not like how I'm looking at this, or if I don't have a lot of empathy or compassion for her, it's because I can hear the bullshit coming from her. I can hear the fake tears. I can hear the bad actresses, that bad acting, I should say, that she's giving. And it's like, the lawsuit is already there. And then you're coming on to make a press conference to raise awareness about NDAs and turn it into money and don't take any accountability or even talk about the lawsuit or, mention that you did the lawsuit to show people that there are monsters in this world and I still seek justice and I seek a court time and date with a jury. But no, she's not even mentioning nothing about, wanting to take this to court. She's not mentioning anything about like, yo, we need a jury, or saying that, yo, this is taking too long. She's making it about trying to be a victim when she's not really a victim, because all that shit came out first before this press conference. Now, if this press conference had come out ahead of time, addressing the Wall Street Journal and whatnot, and then saying that like, oh, I'm also going to, I think the lawsuit came out after the Wall Street Journal or in that time frame. But the point still stands that if she did this press conference to raise awareness for sexual assault survivors, then she may have had a chance of people actually being like, oh my God, she's a victim. But again, she keeps mentioning money and whatnot. And this press conference doesn't work at this time after everything that we already know. And all of us wrestling fans are still trying to wait for this court date to actually happen. I want this court date to actually happen, and I want to see what the jury says and what more information it is. But I'll tell you right now that like this right here doesn't make any sense. Nothing is lining up. She wants to be a victim so bad. She wants to be a martyr so bad. She wants to be a voice for people so bad, when real victims end up wanting to have a real court date with real justice, and they're not going to talk about money in the same way that she's going to be talking about money. Man, how did the IWC fall for her gullibleness, and what kind of fucking credibility does she have when you can turn it around and be like, well, how come she didn't do this? How come, this didn't happen? You say you're isolated, but at the same time, you said that your friends and other people saw exactly what happened, but they didn't say anything. Nobody sent a wellness check, but oh my God, they made me spend money. How dare they made me spend money? But I don't understand why it's a federal thing. I don't understand why they subpoena me. But in the lawsuit, you mentioned that they trafficked you and that Vince had you sleep around with other guys because Vince just wanted to push you around and be like, oh my God, look at this girl right here. I'm gonna be pimping her out or whatnot. Do you want her? Like, if people were actually there, that means that we would have gotten more evidence. We would have seen more patterns. We would have, social media, it's a very powerful, muddy tool to use. But in all of these years, it's always been text. It's always been updates. It's never like, hey, here's a picture. Hey, here's a social media post from your supposed friend, Janelle, or, a statement from, John Laurinaitis, even if like, his legal team was like, yo, don't say anything. But nobody else has said anything about this. It's only been her, and her. And she really wants you guys to believe her. But come on. Bubba Matt says, because the IWC is full of woke, liberal SJWs that go by feelings and emotions instead of logic and facts. They still do with every single type of outrage it is. And it's really sad. It really is, because we could be having a wonderful conversation and try to come up with solutions on like how to fix things. I've already said those solutions on how to fix things, but people want to be in an emotional state every single time and be in a constant state of like anxiety that it's like, you got to breathe sometimes, man. But if this is supposed to bring awareness to the needs of sexual assault survivors in Connecticut due to NDAs and due to misconduct and due to a lot of nasty ass shit, you better have all of that evidence to point to the fact that we need reform for this kind of stuff. And not just like, oh my God, Vince is so kinky and all this shit happened and it sounds like fan fiction from a girl's fantasy. Like, we only got like a little bit left, so.
Two examples, and keep in mind, these are corporate leaders who knew me by name, by face, by office location, by emails, by text, by casual conversation. First, during this federal investigation, a love letter was purportedly found on a corporate laptop and published in the New York Post. The article also rewrote my life. Again, this was a public humiliation and an intimidation of a person who gets letters from the FBI that say victim, and it's also witness intimidation, discouraging others from speaking out, speaking to, or even associating with me for fear of their own well-being and their families. And in the summer of 2020...
What? 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 Oh my God, man. She could have taken the opportunity to bring up that if the Wall Street Journal again decided to rewrite her life, that would have been the perfect time to have a printout, right, of the Wall Street Journal article and the actual love letter. If she wrote the love letter, apparently she also submitted that to like evidence as well too in the lawsuit, that there was love letters and whatnot, or that the Wall Street Journal was like, yeah, there's love letters. If she knew again that the Wall Street Journal is smearing her name, smearing her life, and smearing her character, you guys know that's defamation, right? Did her lawyer not teach her about defamation? Where like if someone takes something and rewrites your life with a lot of wrong stuff that could be seen as detrimental to your character because you want to have a normal life, where is the lawsuit for the Wall Street Journal? This could have been the perfect opportunity to highlight whatever the Wall Street Journal got wrong in their rewriting of her life. And she could have set the record straight to be like, this is what actually happened. So now you have, a he said, she said kind of game or she said kind of game, because I don't know who the writer was for the Wall Street Journal when they did that, but you could have cleared up more of your name by taking a moment and just pausing and being like, again, the Wall Street Journal did X. This is wrong because I have the correct information about my own life. But she's not doing that. But you guys in the IWC are believing her based on what? Because she says that, they rewrote my life, so they're wrong. But you're not showing evidence on how they're wrong. And by the way, that evidence should have been submitted to the federal investigation as well. Give them everything and be like, hey, I don't like the fact that the Wall Street Journal said this about me. This is not true. This is what actually happened. So you can have that as evidence. And then when it goes to the judge, and the judge can do whatever they want to do with it to how they're going to proceed, you cover all bases and you cover your ass. Thank God I grew up with the mentality of make sure there's always a paper trail. Now that we're in the digital age, make sure there's always a digital, paper trail, so that way if anything happens, you could go back to it and be like, no, this is actually the truth. This is if you follow the pattern, if you follow the paper trail, you're good. But she does not want to tell us any more information that can clear her name a little bit further, but wants to complain that her civil suit became into a federal investigation, that she wants to complain that she got subpoenaed. She wants to complain that she has to pay out of pocket for lawyers and participation and all this kind of shit. I mean, if you would have just in the beginning submitted everything you needed to submit, even though she did, but also corrections and the paper trail and whatnot, she wouldn't have to be doing this, man. Oh my gosh, she missed a really big opportunity to somewhat not really clear her name 100%, but she missed a big opportunity to also shine a light on the Wall Street Journal writers can't keep doing this about victims and rewriting stuff to fit their agenda. She missed that opportunity because she wanted to gloss over it and be like, hey, they rewrote my life, that's not shocking.
Reporters and viewers noticed there were parallels between a storyline that unfolded for...
Oh, I hate this part. I hate this part because this was just a coincidence. People love coincidences and theories, and now she's gonna take it and run with it and be like, oh my god, in WWE they did that story with the judgment day of when Carlito was there and they were looking at the phone and they assumed that it was a naked picture or whatever. This is why women have a hard time sometimes hanging out with men, because if you're not so entwined into the male group or group chats, you're gonna feel oh my god, this is about me, me, narcissistic. Sometimes in group chats or just with guy groups, one person on their phone might have a sexy ass picture of a girl. You're never gonna know. But let's just say that there was a sexy ass picture of a girl that's naked. The guys are gonna look. The guys are gonna be like, oh, she's hot, and then move on, and then never gonna think about it again. They might think about the naked chick again, but guys normally are like, oh my god, she's hot. Move on. But let's just hear this out, man, because I don't think that this was done like that, man.
Several months on television and my situation. So does it look like we work in a safe environment when the destination point, if you're hurt, is weaponized use of your experience on live TV?
Oh, shut
every
up.
Monday night for months? By their actions and by their reactions, that says a lot more about current leadership than it says about me.
Oh my god.
How do we...
She signed the NDA. All parties are wrong in this. But she signed the NDA, so she can't say, oh, that says more about them than me. You signed the NDA. Whatever happened behind closed doors during that time may or may not be a reflection of what we saw on Monday Night Raw, because even if it wasn't Monday Night Raw, even if it wasn't professional wrestling, your male friend groups share naked photos, share porn, share goofy ass memes, share a lot of things. Guys share a lot of stupid shit with each other, and then they move on, and there's not going to be like a coincidence of like, oh my God, you know, let's turn this into a real life shit. Like, come on, be reasonable. So how do we make change in the world? Bro, you want money.
We make change in the world by showing up in it, especially when it's a tough conversation, to the board of TKO.
Oh shit,
if you
girl.
didn't know this part of your origin story, now you know.
That sounds like a threat. That face right there looks like a fucking threat with her head tilted. Have we not seen on Twitter the multiple videos of white liberal women tilting their head and looking straight into the camera, and they have like no soul in their eyes? That's a threat. That is a threat. And to put this as the origin story and the blame on WWE just becomes this boogeyman that people want to blame rather than taking responsibilities for like all actions. The responsibility and the accountability of signing an NDA when no one forced her to sign an NDA, and she could have been like, no, I'm not doing this. This doesn't sound right. But you know, when you need money, it sounds pretty good. But that right there, that is a threat. Looking straight into the camera and letting TKO know that, you know, that's their origin story. Girl, man, this was not a good idea. This was not a good idea at all. Not at all.
I hope you will have conversations with us. I will hope you have
He's doing it
conversations
again.
amongst yourselves, and I hope that you don't rely on old instincts with new insight.
I hope you do not rely on old instincts with new insight. That doesn't make any sense. Sometimes old instincts, depending on what it is in the situation that we're talking about, kind of works out. And if it's not broken, don't fix it. However, when you get new insights, you should be able to adapt to that. But again, if something is not broke, don't fix it. However, in the world of NDAs, like I said, if there is a open board meeting for a public hearing that deals with corporations and you have experienced really bad shit, you go and talk peacefully in those hearings to at least get it out, and maybe some change can happen. Or you go to your politician, even though they can't really all be trusted, but you go there and you have a conversation and you're like, hey, we need something done. Or you make a petition, or you start a protest, man. Like, you don't go and say this kind of like stupid shit, man. Like, the stuff I'm saying brings more awareness to how to change the world, so that way we don't have this, rather than what the fuck we're watching.
All of you have some say in how my life turns out from here, including how quickly I may be able to move on and find help and healing. And leadership perhaps means stepping into the unknown, listening and discussing things, even when they're hard, being willing to take first steps like we are all right now here today. I mean, this is the second time I've ever even spoken about this. I would have thought there would be one more time by now, right? But it's been the feds and you, so thank you.
Oh my God.
Because speaking of healing, there are organizations like the Alliance who are willing to help people like me. And I'm committed to paying it forward and supporting others as they have supported me. I hope this time has helped to enlighten and educate and empower you in service of clarity that lead to dignified and productive conversations that create solutions. And when the right people meet at the right time for the right reasons, mountains can move. We're already taking steps forward today. The people in this room, the people listening, and we're all working forward to evolve, to create something safer and break the cycles that have caused so much fear and so much hurt and so much
Oh my God,
loss
she's
and
crying.
grief for far too long.
Oh my God. You notice how like she's not crying during the whole entire time, but like as an actress, they tell you when to cry and like the right moments to cry and what you're saying is to cry. Oh my God. Fake, 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 fake all around. Is it done?
On a positive note, I want to say thank you for your time. I look forward to speaking with you, and I look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Nah, man, nah. Nah, 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 nah. Again, you guys might not like how I approach it at all, but it is what it is, you know. Man, dude. Like that is such that is such just an actress, man. An actress to the nines, an actress. And again, people are not gonna like what I say, but for this, it's like we already have the lawsuit out. If the lawsuit, right? If the lawsuit wasn't there, if the lawsuit never came out and just the Wall Street Journal articles came out and she came out with this press conference, then yeah, there could be, you know, take it with a grain of salt. But because this lawsuit has been out in the open for so long, and again, with the updates that we get that she changed this, she dropped Brock Lesnar's name, she dropped John Laurinaitis' name, she revealed this, she changed up this. What credibility does she have? Seriously, what credibility does she have to basically get at your heartstrings, you know? And then people want to blame Vince for blaming Vince for being a man and being white and all this kind of stuff. And I get it. He has a lot of like, you know, a checkered history past and shit like that. Your favorite CEO of whatever company that you want to support, whatever company you're buying, you know, your technology from, every single CEO, male, female, whatever, they all have a checkered and a really bad past and whatnot. Hold on. Oh, okay. That was mad weird. They have a really checkered, bad past, and you're still buying technology from them. You're still trying to basically support them in any way, shape, or form. But you know, you're gonna do it. Like, you know, no one is protesting against Apple, and Apple has some really bad, you know, labor laws and ethic laws that, like, you know, of how your phone is created and shit like that. But everyone is still supporting some type of company that has some type of bad stuff in their closet. And it's not to just like sweep under the rug. The world is not perfect at all. But when you blatantly want to make somebody the boogeyman, where things don't add up, where things sound kind of weird, and it's such a really long lawsuit of things, and there's not enough evidence to basically confirm that this person is truly evil, you know, because people have done a lot of stupid things in their lives that could be like, ew, that's nasty. Not so much as like, oh my God, that's horrible, unless they are convicted and there is like, without a shadow of a doubt, without a shadow of a doubt for it. Um, but yeah, man, like she can fool everybody else. I'm just not being fooled here. Again, victims don't mention money and whatnot. So let me just and I'm surprised that she's real. I don't even remember the first time that she you know talked. And again, man, if you want to um say anything in chat, you guys can. If you think that I'm like 100% wrong or anything, you guys could always share your thoughts and whatnot. But yeah, man, that whole entire thing. Um, I guess I want to do that. Um, Let me just check out some stuff. Oh my god, I'm choking on my own saliva. Jesus. Eh. Um. So I normally don't want to. If I put people on blast as like a regular what do you call it? Uh so if I put people on blast is basically if I'm doing a uh podcast episode style, right? But for the sake of this, because we're talking about this and we're being honest with each other, right? Because Rumble is the place to be honest. We'll go as long as like YouTube allows me to go. Um, because YouTube could get sensitive as well as other people could get sensitive. Um, So I just put this for like, what did she say? Because I had logged back in and I was like, hey, um, you know, what did she say? Because I couldn't watch it and I watched it with you guys and I gave my unfiltered thoughts. Because again, we are chasing conversations in wrestling. It's not about like, oh my God, let's be emotional about it. Like, no, I don't want to be emotional about it. I don't want to do that. So anyway, I don't know this person at all, right? Final boss engaged, right? But sometimes talking about this stuff and giving a different perspective on things basically can help the conversations along. I don't know who the person is. They could be an NPC. They could be an actual person. It could be a he. But I will say a positive thing is that Final Boss Engage does go around telling people to watch JCW, even if like the tactics is not really the best way to do it, but he goes around, JCW is being talked about, and I mean JCW Lunacy by way of the Insane Clown Posse, which we'll get back to watching on Rumble, and maybe not Patreon, because Patreon has like a limit for like 500 hours to be uploaded, but like Rumble, yeah, and then Patreon gets it, we'll figure it out. But I really do want to try and do this from like day one kind of deal. So like, this is the second time where Final Boss and I are exchanging a conversation. The first time was me telling Final Boss here to stop saying defamatory stuff about Hangman Adam Page. Saying stuff like, oh, Hangman Adam Page likes some young just because he took a picture with Marty Scurll. Oh my God. Like, stop trying to antagonize the AEW sickos, and then when they clap back at you, you clap back at them and then cry victim and all that kind of stuff. Like, I've seen it way too many times on Twitter where people want to be like, oh my God, guys, this is, this guy is bullying me and this person is being mean to me and racist this and racist that and blah, 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 like, stop doing that. So, he says that she's credible, meaning Janelle. She was groomed and WWE used it as a storyline. Judgment Day, Dom was Vince and Liv Morgan was Janelle. It's fucked up. Again, you're putting your own feelings, your own conspiracy theories, your own twists and turns and narratives, so that way they could always be the boogeyman. I understand that he does not like WWE. He does not like AEW, to my understanding. And that like is, JCW all the way through. I totally get that. You want, people to watch your stuff. But at the same time, it's like, how can you say she's credible? So I said, she's not credible. A victim wouldn't sign a contract with an exchange of money, gifts, a car, and more. How can adults that are like 18 and up groom another adult when they should know right from wrong? Adults here can make a choice. You have a choice. There is a contract. The same way that if you go into an interview for a job and they're like, hey, you're hired. Here's a contract. Go through it and then sign it. You have the option of, hey, I don't like this. Therefore, I don't want to sign it. If you sign it and still complain afterwards, well, again, that's your choice. So adults here can make a choice. And that storyline isn't proved. It's a weird coincidence. And again, like I said, guys will gather up, look at one person's phone and be like, oh my gosh, she's hot. There might be a naked picture there. Like, it's normal. It's normal for a group of guys to gather around somebody to be like, oh my God, you see that chick? Or even in their group chats to like send some weird ass shit. To which he responds with, traffickers use lavish gifts to isolate victims. It's literally called grooming. How do you not know what grooming is? This motherfucker changes everything for like the definitions to fit the narratives that he wants to try to make you look bad, because this right here is how you make somebody look bad. So I said the word grooming has transformed into many different definitions to fit narratives perfectly and neatly to appease the left, and have you and everyone else repeat the talking points. For an example, if my friend got me a gift and I accept that gift from my friend, is that friend grooming me? So buying gifts for your friend, buying Valentine's Day gifts for your woman or your man, is that grooming? That's so stupid to fucking say that, like, oh my God, they buy you lavish gifts and that's how they pull you in. No, that's not how they pull you in. Traffickers don't give a shit about giving you gifts. Traffickers will pull you in and have you do stupid shit. You never see your family ever again. And then you guys are being like F ICE. And if the people are never found, then what? And I hate how everything is so connected that, like, people get into the political stuff and bring it into wrestling because they just want to. And I don't really know the answer for it. So, like, I just wish people like Final Boss and like other people who virtue single in the IWC, and like it's not only him. I'm not trying to pick on him if it is a him or whatever. I'm not trying to pick on this person. I'm trying to highlight a different conversation, a different perspective of, like, you can't always go believing people. Now, I know what you're going to say, because you guys will probably say that, well, I've been defending Marty and I said that the girl said that she forgave him and moved on and we should be listening to her story. And that's because of patterns. That's because of, like, no one else came out ever since to accuse Marty of anything else. But the wrestling community will convince themselves that a blacked out drunk man can take advantage of a girl. If you say that he was drunk and he took advantage of her, that doesn't make any sense. And by the way, the 16-year-old girl who retold the story about what happened between her and Marty at that time, she remembered all the details. So maybe she wasn't as intoxicated as you guys make it seem. So that way you could blame the guy who happens to be white and from Europe to be like, men are bad. Like, you guys got to start asking questions, got to start thinking about stuff and thinking above the surface fucking level of what you guys like really, really want to use your energy for. And fix your fucking thinking. Anybody can have sex, okay? Anybody can have sex. Legal sex is totally fine. People are always going to find it. People are always going to be horny. We as human beings are here to reproduce and make friendships and make, cool things happen and contribute to the society that we build. But essentially, we are like sexual beings no matter what. Anyway, that's not the point. The thing is that, like, people online will have you believe that sex is bad and this is why we're here where we're at. If anybody tries to do anything harmful to people that are not of age and there's like true harm, not no like, oh my God, they drank and then they made out and then he had a blowjob. I know I might be reducing it to like a tiny bit, but you guys reduce every single story that should have an outrage to the very basic of shit. So don't give me anything. So don't give me shit. But yeah, like the IWC has such a twisted way of looking at things, or not even looking at things, just reacting to things because they just want to be the loudest person in the group. And then when there's backlash happening, no accountability, they'll say that it's a joke. They'll say whatever to get out of it and still do the same thing over and over and over and over again. But I wanted to highlight that you have one person being like, oh, this is credible and this is what trafficking means and stuff like that. All this kind of shit. And it's like, nah, man. Like, do you not understand? Like I said, if she had did this press conference ahead of time, right? And then released the lawsuit for everybody to read, then we will be having a different conversation. But because it's the other way around, it's like, and by the way, like I said, if this is like the first time we actually see who she is. Because for years we're like, oh my God, like, who is she? Is she a real person? You know? It's a good thing to know she's a real person. Because I'm like, yo. This one, this one here too, that I want to highlight because again, it's the emotional status that is super, super annoying. The emotional status that happens. WWE, this is still from Final Boss. And again, this is just to bring up conversations. WWE were systematically silencing women like a sex cult for Vince McMahon. If current WWE employees were raped, sorry, RAPED, I might get flagged over on fucking YouTube. They should speak out. Vince was using NDAs to our women, and WWE TKO threatened to harm these women's families if they said a word. WWE looks evil. Again, Final Boss here goes on emotion. He does not go on anything else if it isn't him. And this is where you get into the territory of making defamatory statements based off of somebody else's supposed word when nobody else has ever came out. Even if they are afraid to come out and say something, how can WWE and TKO threaten to harm the women's families? If they did that, that's also a federal crime. Because if they are a threat, that means that police will have to get involved, federal agents will have to get involved to keep people safe. Why would WWE and TKO waste their time, their money, their resources on supposedly threatening to harm women's family if they said a word? Why would they waste their time and energy for that? That doesn't make any sense. Why would they do that? This isn't like the mafia, you know, where the mafia would do that kind of shit. This isn't a mafia. So I don't understand what would WWE and TKO gain from wanting to threaten someone's family. You know, again, this is where it goes into defamatory stuff. This is where it goes into repeating things from a woman that is, from a woman that is playing an actress. Okay, so my response to that, because again, we are chasing conversations here, and these are the conversations that I don't like, and by me pointing this out with not only Final Boss for other people in the IWC, I guess you guys don't like me anymore, but that's totally okay. It's to chase conversations, and it's to have you guys stop trying to chase the clout, stop trying to chase the emotion, stop trying to enrage the AEW sickos, the WWE fan base, the supposed 24/7 activists. If you guys stick to facts rather than emotion, we will have a lot better internet wrestling community. But on Twitter and on social media, the currency is negativity, and negativity feeds the currency, even though you guys are still poor. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to do it, at least grift for the money. There are other content creators on YouTube that grift for the money and use tweets to be like, hey guys, look, we're going to read this tweet. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk shit. We're going to clown on this person, rather than trying to chase the conversation of like, let's talk about this on a deeper level. How can we fix this? How is this defamatory? How is this? How is that? I've always prided myself on creating the Square Circle podcast, and also now Discord notes, to be about gaining a community where we are all individuals and we all have our way of thinking, but we can collectively come together and talk about the facts, give an opinion, Maybe get a little emotional depending on what it is if we keep it kayfabe. But I've always wanted to build a community of people that can think for themselves. We have a great conversation. We have great attitude. We want to see justice. We want policies where we could agree on that is not a divisiveness of anything at all. But I don't know if we could ever get there, but I can't lose hope. I've always wanted a community where we could come together, chat about it, not feel like we're pressured, not feel like someone is going to make fun of us or whatever the fuck. A community where we could thrive. I forget exactly the exact words I used back in the day, starting the Square Circle podcast, but it has evolved into this, to use my voice to talk about real stuff. I know it's not entertaining to people. I know it's not wrestling. I know it's not me talking about New Japan or watching wrestling here and there. But, sometimes you got to talk about this to start the conversations, to try to change people's minds, even though that's like an uphill battle and whatnot. So I replied with, when you want a boogeyman, you create one out of whatever makes you feel good. Every single business has used NDAs, loopholes, horrible shit. But if you cannot prove the trauma, you need to prove the trauma. It's hearsay. Saying this is defamatory because now you're smearing workers collectively to get a W. That's not what you're supposed to be doing. For you to smear the entire company because you think that this woman, Janel Grant, still thinks that there are people who are silenced. If that was the case, they would have came forward as with her to join her law firm and be like, yes, here's more evidence, FBI. Yes, here's more evidence. Here's my statement. Here's my story. And this is how we all interact and intersect. But because it hasn't happened within the amount of years that this this lawsuit has been going on, it's like, are there really more victims? It's supposed victims. Because again, a victim would not be crying about money. I followed it up with advice to everyone. Stop thinking emotionally and start thinking critically and logically. Connect the pattern for a sound and reasonable tweet. I know it's way too much to ask. Way, 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 way too much to ask. Way too much to ask. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to end the stream over on youtube.com/Square Circle Podcast. It is really sad. My nose is getting stuffy. It is really sad that you cannot really speak freely and have people think about things freely at all without someone feeling offended by it. The whole entire, my whole entire Square Circle podcast is about speaking up on things and giving my unfiltered opinion on things and whatnot. But just to know that for everyone that has subscribed, past, present, and future, I do appreciate you guys. And for everyone that has decided to, go on their merry way, the door is always open. The door for you to always come back is here. So, don't be afraid to come back if you ever change your mind, get new information. Definitely want to have a conversation about things. It's totally there. But yeah, YouTube, thank you so much for tuning in and watching. I will still be live over on the green site, Rumble, www.rumble.com/user/Marie